Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 12-Minute Talks podcast. I'm excited to have with us today Jonathan Cameron from Cameron Downing. He works with attorneys and other entrepreneurs with personal money management so they can become the best version of themselves. Jonathan, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me, Lorena. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so I know we've spoken before through LinkedIn and all that good stuff. So I know a little bit about you and what you do. But why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your journey and how you got into financial planning?
Absolutely. So let's see. It's been a little over 13 years that I've been in the financial planning world, personal financial planning. And there's two parts to that. There's financial planning, which I differentiate from investment management. Financial planning is your roadmap. That's just advice. We're not implementing any products. It's fee for advice, and it's strictly that. No implementation of anything. And then there's investment management. So that is a vehicle to get you to the destination as part of your plan. And so my clients can do one or both. So I give them that flexibility and that my option there. But um,
Awesome. And so was financial planning something, as a kid you wanted to do, or how did you get into that?
yeah, no, that's a good question. So yeah, in my later teens, I first became aware that my parents were having that conversation for themselves. And so that was the first time that I really thought about that as a potential career. And so what I did, and this is in the late 90s, I found a software online. I think it was a version of Money Tree, free software. And I created my 17-year-old self a financial plan for my parents because I heard them talking about it. I said, check this out. Maybe this will be helpful. So that was my first foray into personal finance. Um, but actually, I was a liberal arts major. I
Okay.
started off as a business major.
Mm-hmm.
I I didn't care for the classes. I probably just didn't have the best professors, or who knows what it was. But I switched majors. I learned to read and write and supplemented that with public speaking classes. And so I got that foundation down. I figured that if I got into a good employer, they would train me whatever they needed.
Right.
So that's essentially in a nutshell how it happened. Um, and, uh, and so it was a tough to get into the industry, but once I was in, I was able to eventually get licenses, and then the big one, at least for me, was the Certified Financial Planner certification,
Right.
which is a brutal exam. So that's how I
Mm-hmm.
started. So that's kind of the beginning of my journey.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, all those letters after your name are important, and it's interesting how you took something from trying to help your parents, right, to then, having that foundation in reading and writing and public speaking is important no matter what you do in life, right? Um, and the CFP designation, that's interesting. I heard a lady say it was like a meeting about finances. I wasn't giving it, it was somebody else. And I remember a lady in the audience like mentioning to her friend, like, well, yeah, everything he's talking about sounds good, but he doesn't even have any letters behind his name, right? So I realized, oh, people do care about that stuff. And especially if you're giving financial advice like you are, right? Whether it's financial advice or especially investment management, which is different, but you need to be licensed. Um, so, Jonathan, what do you tell us a little bit more about what is it exactly that you help entrepreneurs and lawyers with or help them
Sure.
solve?
Sure. Yeah, it's very specific, very focused. I've found that I've worked well with attorneys and entrepreneurs. So this is my own company. I'm independent. It's a boutique firm, and I launched Cameron Downing, which is my firm, about 6 years ago. Um, and I kind of stumbled into who I really wanted to work with. And so a big part of owning your own company is making sure that when you go in the morning that you enjoy what you do, and you enjoy the people that you work with, and you see the phone ring, you're excited to pick it up, and you know who it's gonna be and what you're gonna probably talk about. So that's part of it. Is I tell my wife all the time, I go to Disney World every day. I love what I do. It's just, and the fact that you're a business owner, it's yours, it's your baby, right? So
Yeah.
it's important to you. So So, you know, I focus a lot with them because there are specific needs. And honestly, a lot of the clients that I work with that are attorneys and entrepreneurs, sometimes younger, and the younger, so I found that the younger generation of entrepreneurs, these are, when I'm saying entrepreneurs, I'm thinking of people who they've established their company and now they're a few years into making some money and they look back and like, you know, I was grinding, I was hustling all this time, but now I need to really look back and put down my personal financial foundation. So that's kind of defining them. And the attorneys, you know, they're working hard hours. Same thing with entrepreneurs. These are very busy people. They don't have a lot of time. They want you to cut to the chase. So, you know, for example, with an attorney, let's say if you're at a big law firm, you know, you may have a partnership track that you need to go to. And does it make sense for you financially to do that? So that's a conversation, because that's a debt conversation. To be able to take on partnership, meaning you're going to take out loans,
Mm-hmm.
which perhaps the law firm will provide you, and there's some financing. And so that's a big cash flow question. So we get deep into cash flow with attorneys. And then with entrepreneurs, a lot of it will hinge on taxes. Now, I'm not a tax attorney or a CPA, but able to advise on a lot of it and say, hey, you know, you need to do X, Y, Z, and you know, make sure you talk to your tax advisor to be able to implement this for you. But at least now they know what to do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's important because sometimes as an entrepreneur myself, it's like, well, I heard this and I heard that, but how do you know what's actually correct, right? So
right.
it's definitely good to have somebody like you that knows what they're talking about, right? And can at least guide someone in the right direction.
Yeah,
And
and I'll add one more thing too is for this group, so middle age and younger, retirement is important, but it's secondary, to be honest. It's not the number one goal, and I think that's right. And it sounds odd coming from a financial advisor, you know, that I'm saying that's sort of on the back burner. Because what is more important? There are four things that I found that are very important to these professionals. It's going to be wealth building. This is not even retirement, right?
mhm.
Wealth building as opposed to wealth preservation is one. um, Believe it or not, budgeting slash financial organization, just getting those underpinnings in order, your cash flow straightened out, knowing where the money's going, that's a big one. Number two, debt is a big one. Student loans, credit card debt, paying that off. And then your home purchase. Maybe it's your first home purchase. So getting it before you talk to the mortgage broker or realtor, making sure that you have your financial house in order, using that, you know, no pun intended, so that when you go to those professionals, you'll be better prepared and that you'll get approved for a loan because you've got the down payment, or at least appropriate. You know that your credit has been boosted over the last year or so. So we've been working on it together. So I'm sort of that first step before you meet with a realtor and the mortgage broker to get in the
Yeah,
right.
those are very, very important points that you bring up. You know, everybody says, "Oh, buy a mortgage, get a mortgage," right? And it's like they don't realize
Right.
that might be your biggest asset, as they say. I don't think it's an asset, but people do because of the
Sure.
equity,
Yeah, it could be a
right?
liability for in the beginning for sure.
Yeah, exactly. At first, you know. But yeah, it's great that at least when they go to buy a house, they know what they can actually qualify for and how it fits into their overall financial plan, right?
Exactly.
And so, Jonathan, what makes you different than other people out there that are CFPs?
Sure. Yeah. So I think what I mentioned in the beginning, I differentiate financial planning and investment management. You know, there are so many advisors out there and they do some great work. But their business model is different. And a lot of times, especially this demographic that we've been talking about, they don't have a ton of money to manage yet, right? So, but it's about building those relationships. So whereas most advisors will require you to have investment minimums to work with them, it's really not even, that's even not even the right question. The right point of view is, you know, are you willing to work with someone on a financial plan which may or may not involve investments? There's no investment involved in a financial plan because you're just giving advice. So they come to you with, you know, a couple of goals and maybe a concern, or you dig out some more that maybe they hadn't thought through in a while or didn't realize, and then from that, we create sort of the framework for financial decision making going forward. And they can implement that wherever they want, whether it's through their 401k at work, opening it up outside, or, you know, if it makes sense, we would do the money management. We do that as well. But for most young professionals, they're not there yet. So at least not in a way that'll really move the needle for me to make sense to manage it. They
Mhm.
can go to a Vanguard easily enough. If they have a lot of assets to manage, then there's probably a place where there's a lot more strategies you can implement there, but that's sort of a secondary conversation. So that would be a big differentiator. Is investments is not even part of the conversation. This is about advice.
Fantastic. And so do you offer like packages, or how does somebody
Yeah.
purchase this?
Right. No, great. So there's three main ways for that. So the main ways are financial planning packages. So these are sort of fairly straightforward. It's all on our website, by the way. It's fully transparent. We disclose everything. So make it easy. It sounds a little cheesy, but bronze, silver, gold, a
Of course.
thousand, 1,500, 2,000. It's easy to remember. So and based on that, 1,000 is budgeting, debt payoff. 1,500, we're actually getting into the investment conversation because you have investments outside or maybe through your work. And then the 2,000 is we're getting you into your first home. We're having that conversation to get, and
Right.
then taxes as well. We'll have that conversation for the young
Awesome.
professionals.
And Jonathan, can you tell us a little bit about, I've seen on LinkedIn you do like this financial minute, I think
Yeah,
it's called.
right, right.
What's that about?
I'm continuing that experiment, and it's going to keep coming. But yeah, I have this series that I've been putting out called the Financial Planning Minute. So again, who's my target? Very busy professionals. They don't have time to even watch a 5-minute video. Who knows how many of them will watch? Maybe
That's
even
too
this
long.
one. But so I try to put 60 seconds. Sometimes I go a little over, but I try to make it short. Just one hit and run point to make them think about something that maybe they hadn't thought about. So yeah, definitely on LinkedIn is where I focus my time. So hashtag planning minute, or connect with me there, and then you'll see all my posts there. But it's just about financial tidbits that might be relevant.
Awesome. And so, like always, I'll put all of the links down below so anybody listening or watching the video can easily find Jonathan on LinkedIn. That's his main social media and where you can get more information, as well as his website. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself for those of you that don't know who I am. My name's Lorena Tomasini, and I'm the owner of Mom Life and Health Insurance Agency, where together with my mom, we help other families and businesses with their financial protection needs, all done digitally. Jonathan, it's been great having you today on the 12-Minute Talks podcast. And I do have one random question for you.
Yeah,
What would you say is a good productivity tip for busy professionals?
right. Well, and I think I would from the angle of sort of a motivation, especially if you have a team, even if it's a small team of one or two, is focus on building up other people. So at our firm, we talked about, the three-prong approach of we're building up our clients, we're building up our employees, so that's all of us within our firm, and then building up the community. So like there's a greater cause here. This is not just about us here in this little bubble, but what we're trying to do is in what ways are we fulfilling that mission? And then we have to be really creative about that. So I think if you come from the point of view of motivation and building others up, then you will be more productive because you'll be personally more motivated to come in the next day and feel passionate about what you do. So that would
Yeah,
be
that's
that'd be
great.
my answer.
That's great advice. It's definitely um, thinking not just about yourself but about others, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Right.
Jonathan, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, it's a pleasure. Pleasure, Lorena. Thank you so much. Love what you do. You have a vital business in life insurance and related insurances, and what you do, it's very important, especially if someone's depending on you for a living. It's necessary. So that's definitely
Yeah,
part of our advice is, especially if they have children, a client, make sure you have life insurance so that your family is protected. So
definitely a priority. Thank you so much, Jonathan. I hope you have a good day.
thank you, Lorena. You too.
Thank you for listening to this podcast and hope you will listen to the next one. I'm Lorena Tomasini, and you can contact me via email life@malmins.com. Make it a great day.